So let me ask y'all how y'all feel about the Roe versus Wade
4 women in states across the country are fighting for abortion rights, and now
thing. That topic.
Control.
I- My, in my opinion, um, I feel like women that aren't having babies, don't plan to, or don't have any daughters, shouldn't have no say in that.
I
Should
feel
not.
like
Right?
I feel like isn't that a time limit thing?
They shouldn't have a say in that.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
they shouldn't want to talk about because you're not having any abortions, right? You don't have any daughters to worry about. Like, at the end of the day, in my opinion, when you get pregnant, it's because of both of y'all was fucking irresponsibly.
Right.
Don't fuck irresponsibly.
Okay.
Easy
That's
solution.
what I was getting at. Like how you feel about it personally, like the overall of it
I'm
being
asking,
like a law.
ain't it a time limit on it?
It allowed a woman to decide the fate of her pregnancy in the first trimester, while allowing states to impose certain restrictions in the second trimester to protect the mother's health, and in the third trimester to protect the fetus.
I don't think there should be a law necessarily about.
I think that
someone's
should be a
decision.
law on that. It's
I
a
do
time
too.
limit on that, John, because it's like 7 months or some shit. If you get to 6 or 7 months, no, you shouldn't be getting a fucking abortion.
Right? You killing somebody, and then y'all
Right.
like,
So I
I should have
agree
the
with
right
that
to kill
part.
somebody. Like, that shit crazy.
I agree with. Okay, so remind me of like what the whole law is.
Previous rulings. Under the precedent set by Roe and Casey, states were allowed to regulate, but not ban, abortion up to the point of fetal viability, which is at about 24 weeks. We therefore hold that the Constitution does not confer a right to abortion. Roe and Casey must be overruled, and the authority to regulate abortion must be returned to the people and their elected representatives. Now, to be clear, this doesn't mean that abortions are now illegal in all states. States can still pass their own abortion laws that either restrict or guarantee the right to an abortion.
Because I feel like I'm thinking of something completely different.
I believe the law is that once you get up to like 6 or 7 months, it's illegal to get an abortion.
Depending on what state you're in.
That's what that law is. But what about, okay, I'm thinking of the law that is recently that's been going on about like certain states is banned for like all the way around.
Yeah, that's what
like Georgia.
that's actually what I was thinking too,
Yeah,
because
that's
of the
what I was thinking about.
abortions are banned. You can't have abortions in
And you
certain
can't-
states.
And you can't have miscarriages. I think this happened in your state, C, with the girl who had the miscarriage.
A
or
tragic
whatever.
case in Georgia is raising major concerns over reproductive rights after a 24-year-old woman, Selena Maria Chandler Scott, was arrested following a miscarriage. Chandler Scott was found unconscious and bleeding in her apartment complex after suffering a miscarriage. Police later discovered fetal remains in a dumpster, leading to her arrest on charges of concealing the death of another person and abandonment of a dead body.
Or whatever.
Yeah, I just saw that shit today.
How
I
can
didn't
they
get
say
into
you
it
can't
because I'm
have a
like,
What happened?
She got arrested. So the
She had a
young lady, she had
miscarriage.
a miscarriage. So, you know, how old was the baby, the gestational age? I think it was like 14 weeks or something like that.
I'm not sure because I saw it briefly. So that part right there that I just told you is the part that I got from the story.
Right.
So I'm not sure about how far along or anything like that.
Nina.
But they arrested her and charging her for murder. Yes.
Nina, I'm asking, how can you tell somebody they can't have a miscarriage?
rights. And now one Ohio woman is facing criminal charges, not for having an abortion, but for her handling of a miscarriage. Laura.
Brittany Watts of Ohio was just under 22 weeks pregnant in September, says a coroner's report, and had gone to the hospital at least twice for pain. Both times she left after being made to wait for hours without treatment, according to the Washington Post.
Ended up going home, had a miscarriage like many others have experienced, and is now being charged with abuse of a corpse.
And it was after the miscarriage, county records show, Watts tried to flush some of the remains and put the rest in a bucket left outside. An autopsy found no recent injuries to the fetus, which had died in utero. Watts' lawyer tells CNN in a statement that there is no law in Ohio that requires a mother to bury or cremate the remains of a miscarriage, and they will continue to fight the charge.
I'm sorry.
You're not in control of it, right?
Yeah, no, what she's saying is that that's a thing of like the illegal side of
Roe Wade.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm asking. So if you're a female and you have a miscarriage, you didn't choose to have a miscarriage. So how can they charge
that's
you?
a whole nother
That's
topic.
That's why it's so. That's why this Roe versus Wade thing is so like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? Because we can't choose. We can't choose. Oh, now abortion, okay, right? Because I'm going to elect for that abortion. But how are you going to charge me for manslaughter if my fetus isn't no longer viable and it ejects itself out of my vagina?
Yeah. See,
When did this happen?
shit, I didn't even know.
Just happened like last week.
What state you
And
said
they
this was?
charged her?
In Georgia.
Yeah, she's being charged for manslaughter and something else regarding a child.
Are they trying to say that she caused them, like she made
No.
us?
No, they are
they not saying
recognizing it
that?
as a No, they are actually recognizing it as a miscarriage.
Yeah.
But they're using medical terms to define miscarriage. It's the miscarriage, but because the baby died, they're charging, and she's the mom. They're charging her with, because that's what the law is. That's what you have to carry. You found that you have to carry the term out.
Somebody find out what the
He just looked it up.
Hey, listen, they are charging. They're not charging her with that. They're charging her with concealing the death of another person because she threw the baby in the trash.
It's two charges. So that's one of them. It should be two charges. They charged her twice.
Can somebody actually look up the law?
The Roe versus Wade.
I want to see what the law actually says.
I'm gonna tell you, I did bring that up. I did bring it up to kind of like piggyback off of like not having sex and shit like that, because when it first came out, I felt like, oh, okay, we got some type of standard on stupids either having sex or not having sex. Like, you have a choice, you have a choice, and then you have a choice to do the dumb shit and have unprotected sex, but you don't have the choice to abort the child because of the decision that you made or whatever. So when I first like kind of like got into it, it was like, oh, okay, I didn't mind it, honestly, because I just felt like it was a standard now of how stupid you gonna be or not be. If that makes sense.
The Roe versus Wade, the Supreme Court decided that the right to privacy implied the 14th Amendment that protects abortion as a fundamental right. So it retains the power to regulate or restrict abortion access depending on the stage of pregnancy. So it's protecting the right to have an abortion prior to the point of fetal viability.
That's what I'm saying. There's a time limit on that joint.
It allowed a woman to decide the fate of her pregnancy in the first trimester, while allowing states to impose certain restrictions in the second trimester to protect the mother's health, and in the third trimester to protect the fetus.
Each state has a specific time limit. Like, because technically a fetus life is viable at 6 weeks gestation, right? So I don't know if Georgia starts recognizing that at 6 weeks, so you can't get an abortion prior to 6 weeks or something like that.
No, it's 24. It's
Florida,
24.
Iowa, Nebraska, North Carolina, and South Carolina, as well as Georgia, is 6 weeks. Nebraska is 12.
Yeah,
that's new though.
I think I'm about to say Philly, like Philly is its own state, but hey, I think
these states have near total bans. These states is on almost a total ban on it. Alabama,
that's what I was talking about.
Alabama, Idaho, Indiana, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, and West Virginia. So if you find out pretty much like you're pregnant within the first 2 weeks and you don't do nothing about it, that's your baby.
But can I say something? These are not states that we should be living in anyway.
I mean,
the way this presidency going and all the changes and stuff like that, listen, they trickling over to our states too. So we gotta be. But see, the problem lies where when we come down to like incest or rape and stuff like that, that's where the problem.
That's where it gets tricky.
Yeah, that's where it gets tricky. And then also you gotta remember, sometimes some women don't know that they're pregnant for a very long time. That happens as well. That's very common.
Yeah.
Those cryptic pregnancies.
Yeah, and it could be for whatever health issues and everything.
I agree. I didn't know I was pregnant for the first 4 weeks.
I can't. Can we agree that 22 and 24 weeks is too long anyway, though?
Absolutely.
I agree. I agree. Like I said, some people don't know that they're pregnant.
What you say, Nina? What you say, Nina?
No, I was agreeing. I said, yeah, you 4 months pregnant by that time. Like,
yes, but that's what I was telling
formed.
y'all, that it changed in Georgia because it used to be 24 weeks. Like after 24 weeks, you can't have an abortion.
You shouldn't want to. That's crazy. But like to Tia's point, you know, I didn't know. I'm just finding out. Like, you know what I mean? Oh, I had my period the whole time. So it's like.
Or what if there's a situation where the baby is harming the mother?
Well,
I
ran into that.
Like that's a life and death situation here.
They actually have a medical procedure that they do where they can extract the baby. See, when the baby dies and the baby and the woman is an operation that they do where it's not an abortion because it's not life inside of the woman. Whenever it's life inside of the woman and you take the life out like that's what the abortion comes.
Right, but I think
that's a totally different procedure.
I think T is asking like when the baby's still viable and then there's a life risk.
Right, like preeclampsia, toxins, and stuff like that. Because sometimes the baby can poop.
It's a stillborn or the baby dies. I'm talking about if there's literally preeclampsia. Like my sister literally almost died at 6 months because her levels was crazy. Like she swelled up, she couldn't breathe, and all of that, and then she had to deliver the baby. So
I've seen some on that. They when it's either life of the mother, then they will proceed with that procedure and do that.
So they charging doctors.
Does that vary by state though? Doesn't
that vary by state? And they charging the doctors.
It does. It does. It varies by state, but that doesn't make sense if you think about it. And you're telling me that I have to die and keep this baby in my stomach, or I'm gonna be. That doesn't make sense at all.
Yes, they are.
So
they are.
I don't think that happened.
Yeah, I'm about to say because that's kind of hard. Like if you don't
think shit like that, I don't want y'all to believe that. I don't think that.
Well, the laws changing. Didn't it happen already?
That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense for our government to tell a woman that you have to die. You can't get no abortion to save your life. That doesn't make sense.
But
that's what it is. No,
I'm saying what they're doing is medical providers like the doctors and stuff, they're prolonging getting the baby out. And then I'm almost pretty certain that this happened not too long ago.
Amber Thurman died in 2022 after she was unable to get a legal abortion in Georgia and did not receive timely medical care. The state's Maternal Mortality Review Committee recently concluded that her death was preventable. Amber showed up at the Piedmont Henry Hospital after she'd taken abortion pills and experienced a rare complication. She had not expelled all of the fetal tissue from her body. She was in need of a D&C, a routine procedure to clear the tissue from her uterus. But just that summer, her state criminalized the procedure. Any doctor who violated the new law could face up to a decade in prison. Amber waited in pain in a hospital bed as doctors monitored her infection spreading, her blood pressure sinking, and her organs beginning to fail. It took doctors 20 hours to finally operate. By then, it was too late. Amber was an otherwise healthy 28-year-old medical assistant and mother of a 6-year-old son. Amber had to drive out of state to North Carolina to receive the pills. Amber's case marks the first time an abortion-related death officially deemed preventable, is coming to public light. Amber and a second woman, Candy Miller, who also died in Georgia in 2022, died because they couldn't access legal abortion or timely medical care in their state.
Where they delayed taking this baby out of this woman and she died.
Yeah.
Because they thought that they would be hit with a malpractice or something, because the laws changed in that state, which is what y'all remember recently they were changing the laws and people were going to other states to get abortions.
Right, but this is also,
I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna find that story.
This is also a teaching moment. Like, you have to know the laws of your state. So even when it comes, you may think that you just with your person that you getting pregnant or whatever it may be. No, you have to know the laws of your state when it comes to like anything.
Yeah.
And be responsible.